Well, no problem.
How are you, bro?
Hey, man. Good to be here.
TikTok, it's time to rock. It's the 5150 show, and we're here live with Jim V. Jimmy, what's up?
What's up, guys? Hey, Andrew. Good to see you, man. Love being
Good to
on.
see you.
Never a skip.
Never a skip. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know, one of the great things about doing live streaming is that you get together in the green room and you touch base, and it's like you want to talk about everything that you're going to talk about in the show in the green room, Jimmy. You know, and we say, oh, look, we better go live.
Yeah, because then you're talking about it again and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Hey, it's good to see you, bro. We're streaming live on the 5150 channel, ladies and gentlemen, the only official EVH Con channel, and we also have a lot of people to thank for that prestigious title. Jimmy, you're one of them. Thank you, bro, and you've got a bit of information to tell us a little bit later on about EVH Con, but what's been happening with you, Jimmy?
We're on EVH Con 7 Eve. That's tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's tomorrow. So, yeah, we're trying to get it together, and it's always a fun time, man. It's always a fun time. It usually starts around noon or 1. People start showing up around noon, and there isn't like a real cutoff time. It just kind of it's cool because it just winds down organically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people start to leave, and then it's like, okay, you see some people leaving, and then it's like only 10% of the people, and you're like, okay, time to end this thing. But so it's organic, and it's organic, and it's cool,
That's the best way to do it. It's a little bit different, though, from your bar band, isn't it? You know, when you got the bar staff wanting to kick everyone out. It's 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. Get out. We want to go home.
And the crazy thing is that, I don't know, there was a little bit of it last year, but I think a little bit more of it this year where people are actually coming from across the US. I mean, I can't imagine that, man. That's incredible.
Can I tell you? Can I tell you? So I know some cats who are very, very, very good friends of our channel, bro. You know, that are cruising across to see you. You know, and you know them from social media too.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Campbell is coming across from San Diego. He's going to be linking up with Paulie Walnuts and Brendan Butt Cheeks. They're all on. A lot of those guys have a lot to do with this guy here, Fruitcake Tony, who's in our chat. Fruitcake Tony's guys are going to be cruising across there. So it's bro, it's a national event, Jimmy.
I know, it's getting crazy. I know. I don't know if I said this before. I found this picture. No, I think because I found it last week. I had dinner with Craig Stofko about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? Yes. And he built me this guitar that I'll show you guys later. But I went to pick it up, and we met at a diner and just hung out and talked and stuff. And I was telling him that, the first EVH Con, it was besides 2 of my really close friends that don't really come anymore for, it's all right. It was me, Suma, Craig Stofko, Pete Carucci, and then that was and David Nestor. And Nick Amendolara. So it was 5 people outside of 2 or 3 other people that don't come anymore, And then it kind of it grew, and then we kind of added that whole thing where my band shows up, and they're kind of like the backbone, the backup band, background band or whatever. When people come up and play, people get up and play guitar through the setup, and whatever Van Halen song you want to play, they'll play. But yeah, it's kind of grown. It's crazy, it was from this original idea, and now people are coming from across the country. It's crazy.
So I'm actually glad, bro, that you mentioned the first EVH Com. So for people who don't know, who are outside of the States, we get a lot of people that watch the channel after we go live. What was the whole idea, Jimmy, around the EVH Con in the first place, that you guys had, and has
Okay.
that changed over the years?
You know what happened was, I don't know if I told this story. Like a while back. I mean, this had to be maybe like 2012. Around 2012, I hopped on. I was on eBay, right, and I'm looking for a Wolfgang, okay, like a USA Wolfgang, and I came across this ad, and it was this. It was a stealth black Wolfgang with like the block inlays, which they don't come with. So the story was
Oh,
that they made 8 by mistake like this, and
yeah.
somehow this guy was selling one, right? I wish I still had it. That's another story. But I saw that this guy Unchained NJ was selling it. And I knew Unchained NJ because a while back Joe Suma had a Van Halen tribute called Unchained, and they were from New
Sure,
Jersey. They were based out
sure.
of he lives in Connecticut, but they were kind of based out of New Jersey, from what I understand. And I saw this and I'm like, dude, are you in a band? Were you in a band called Unchained? He's like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, dude, I think I saw you around Connecticut, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we were talking and I went and like picked up the guitar and like, like I'd seen Joe play once or twice before, but never really talked to him. But I went down to Greenwich Music, which is where, this is, the cons happen. And I picked up the guitar and like, I bought through like maybe the next couple of months. I forget exactly when it was, but I'd show up and we'd just bullshit about stuff, at night or whatever. And I was telling him about how two friends of mine, Kevin McNally and David Fall, we would get together at at Kevin's house or my house or David's house, and we would just play some Van
Yep.
Halen and go out to eat, come back, whatever. And
Yeah.
he was like, "That's a good idea. We should kind of do that." And I'm like, "Okay, you think like people would be interested in that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, well, let's give it a shot." So that was like the original idea, was kind of like how my friends and I would like just get together and play some guitar and talk about because they're Van Halen freaks too. They were one of the
Yeah.
two people that I just mentioned. They were the two people that I mentioned previously that were at the
Yeah.
first con. And that's kind of like how it evolved. And like the first one was really just it was like I said, I have a photograph of like the first group, because at the end of the cons we take a big picture of everybody, right?
Sure.
That's a tradition. So I've got a picture of the people that were there, and it was like 8 or 9 people, really, and like it was just us being at Greenwich. I don't think Joe had like some amps set up, and like
Yep.
we're playing some stuff, and I forget really what happened, but it was maybe like a 2-hour event, maybe 3 hours, just hanging out, seeing like who wanted to come. We kind of like mentioned it on Facebook, and some people showed up, some friends of mine, and blah blah blah. And then the next year a few more people, and I think that's probably either the second one or the third one is kind of like when we introduce like the band playing, where you can get up and jam with the band. And like
Yeah.
you've got like people like Adam Reaver that come, and he does like setups, or he'll like
Wow.
give you like he'll set up your Floyds, or he'll add like a brass block to your guitar in the back, because in the back, towards the back, there's a little workshop, and you can like add some upgrades there. So I think he's going to do that. He's coming tomorrow too. um
Wow.
yeah, so it kind of grew, like really just kind of grew organically off of that, and it's a really like I said before, it's amazing how like in this area where we're basically in New York, there's all these different people that like Stavko and Pete and Rob Johnson, all within maybe like 3 hours of each other, which isn't.
Pete's in the chat. He's in the chat if you want to say g'day to him.
Oh, Pete, what's up, man? Good to see you, dude. I'm gonna see you tomorrow, man.
Yeah. Frank
Um,
and Beans is in the chat.
yeah, 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 yeah. P, I'm sorry to hear about your band, man. I hope you do. Like I told you before, you have to do some kind of Allison Chains tribute, my man. Anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But I'm
Yep.
happy, I'm psyched to see you. So yeah, it was, Pete was one of the original guys, man. He's in that first picture, he's one of the original dudes that was there and has been there every year. So yeah, kind of like grew off of that. And yeah, it was all because I saw this ad for this guitar, really. And then I started talking, and we started talking to Joe and Jimmy. What's up, man? I hope you're coming tomorrow, dude. I want to see
Yeah.
you. And it's just kind of like started from there. And it's just me trying to buy this guitar from this guy, Unchained NJ. I wish I still had it.
You know what's really interesting about EVH Con? It's going to get to a point soon. And look, and we don't talk politics on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. But if you're following what's happening on Twitter, if you want to get verified, there's talk that you may have to pay $8 a month to get your verification, your status symbol on Twitter. So soon, Jimmy, to get to EVH Con, you might have to pay to get through the door, bro, to be in that group photo, bro.
I mean, right now, like, it's completely free, but like, I don't know, like I was talking about this with Conks, and like, I don't know, like, 2 years, 3 years, like it might outgrow Greenwich Music. And at that point we might, have to rent someplace. I don't know. Like, I don't know. We were just talking about like how that would work. Like we'd probably have to charge, like, I don't know, because, at least not to make any money. We're not looking to make any money, but just to cover the cost of like a bigger hall. Cause it's starting to, not quite yet. The place can hold, I mean, I don't know about tomorrow, like who's coming tomorrow, but as of last year, the place can hold, people, people hang out outside. Hopefully it's a good day tomorrow. We hang out outside, bullshit, and then people, are inside. Either you're playing or you're talking to people in there. So kind of like there's a lot of room, but like at some point, if it keeps growing, it's obviously going to outgrow this place.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, bro, because obviously this channel here, being the official EVH Con channel, will do everything that we can to promote and do anything that you guys want to do around EVH Con. And in fact, we should talk about this, guys, live. The EVH Con is situated in a business, Greenwich Music. It is a business. So, if you guys want any music deals or anything like that, if you're looking at getting any gear in the future, have a chat to Joe. I'm sure Joe would love to take advantage of any kind of orders that you guys have got.
Yeah, you want from EVH gear, or I think he's a tailor. What do you call the word? He's like a tailor guy or whatever. He's got connections with Taylor. I mean, obviously EVH gear. I bought some cabs from Joe. I bought that guitar from Joe. He's got great stuff. And and I think, even like I think if you wanted like an FU tone guitar, I think Joe's got like an inventory of that stuff too. Anyway, yeah, it is a business. But but like tomorrow, like kind of like, Joe has made some sales. Like people have played, people who've been there at EVH Con, played something, loved the guitar, and ended up buying it at on site. But tomorrow, he closes it down to the public, and it just kind of overflows with like Van Halen fans. Yeah.
Well, who knows what the potential could be? If you guys turn it into a 2-day convention, who knows? It could be like a swap meet or something like that, as far as, swapping guitars.
Yeah.
The opportunities there for the EVH Con, Jimmy, are endless. I suppose it comes down to the imagination that you guys have as far as the organising committee, what you want to do, the logistics of planning these things, because we all know, things like this always happen because of a committed core of people, that have to plan these things and push it through. And then you get guys and girls, because I know, people attending the event is also an important part of the success that you guys want to get from it as well.
Yeah, but like, Pete's been saying here, like it is, it's easy to just think about this stuff on paper, like, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that, but there is like, it is complex, and I mean, we just had without even without any like problems with like a hall or anything. Like I told you in the green room, I was scrambling an hour, like 3 hours ago, because my I thought my drummer was going to back out, and like we didn't have a guy to play, and so it's just everything's been straightened out. But there's always something happening, and it's like uh, we're gonna at some point. I think we're gonna have to address that. Like, are we gonna keep it um at Greenwich Music, or are we gonna is it gonna now that might be 5 years from now? Okay, that
Yeah.
might be, or
Yeah.
it might not. Like it might just stay around. Like the people that want to come are coming, and it might just be plus or minus a few people, that amount of people, and that's fine too. That's fine too. But it's kind of like at some point, we're gonna have to either come up with a plan or not. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Jimmy Ray Hawkins has just put a very, very important comment in there for you guys to have a look at. Time to file for a non-profit status and apply for grants to get that historical musical history education funds to expand. They did it with the blues. They're
Yes.
doing it with bluegrass, Jimmy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll check it out. It's I think right now it's a little too early to see, but we would have to get to the point where the con is obviously overflowing with people like that. You know what I mean? As of right now, I think for like the next year or two, it depends. I mean, there might be a whole load of people tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, this is where, ladies and gentlemen, and Jimmy, this is where I'm going to get a little bit serious about the role that we all play here as fans. So it's really important for each one of you guys and girls to understand this, that we are the first generation EVH fans. That's really important, because if you look back in history, for example, some of these blues guys in the 1930s, 1940s, there's hardly any first-generation blues fans around now that were listening to Robert Johnson. So the significance that, we all have from our own personal experiences, from yours, Jimmy, and sharing your experiences here on our channel about you getting chucked out of Van Halen concerts, is... No bullshit, bro. It's historically important, because people will want to know in 50 years' time what were Van Halen fans doing besides getting chucked out of Van Halen gigs.
What a night! What a time!
As far as first generation Van Halen fans go, and we all, every single one of us, everybody in the chat here, has a role to play in that.
Oh yeah, and like you guys have a role where, I mean, shows like this and like Johnny Beans and Fruitcake Tony. I mean, like that kind of like expands the Van Halen fan base universe. You know what I mean? Like you get to meet all these other people through that. Like like of course there were Van Halen fans in like New Zealand, but like we didn't know any 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
You didn't know where New Zealand was.
You guys existed 5 years ago, man. I'm happy to see that you exist today.
Look, and I'm glad that you mentioned those other shows too, because this is an important thing here too, because we don't own
That's
EVH.
what I mean. Yeah.
We don't own it. We're just a channel talking about it. We're just fans talking about it. And we've got Fruitcake Tony in the chat, a very, very good friend of the channel. There he is there. And as Fruitcake Tony says, all roads lead to Van Halen. And if you guys are watching on replay, and if you guys indeed are in the chat here who have not subscribed to Fruitcake Tony's show, please go and do it. You'll find him along with all our other friends, Jimmy, on our community page on our channel. We've got channels page, and we've got all our friends there.
I know this. Okay.
Yeah, go and subscribe to them, And if you want to be on our channel's page, just flick me a message, flick Simon a message, Brad, even Jimmy. You know, if you're watching and you want to go on there and you only know Jimmy, flick Jimmy a message and he'll get something to me. We're about sharing here on this channel, Jimmy and everybody in the chat. We don't own anything on this channel.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I tell some people that I meet through like my band's gigs. It's like, we do this just to, because we love Van Halen, but we also want to meet like other Van Halen fans. And this is another way of like doing that, and like seeing who's out there. And, because I forget who it was. Somebody said like, I don't know, when like before the internet, you're like, am I the only person that is just crazy about Van Halen? You know what I mean? And it turns out that you're not. It turns out that like everybody's crazy about this band and like the history and all that. So
it never ceases to amaze me because you get guys like me, and I can only speak, obviously about me. And then okay, look at this guy here. This guy here, Keith Campbell. Okay, and I call him Keith Van Halen Campbell. This guy's seen them like Fruitcake Tony 30 times, I think.
Me too. I've seen them quite a few times.
And like you, I've seen them once.
That's unbelievable. I really feel for that, man. That like you guys, you didn't get all these tours, and that I really relate to that story that you guys and like Simon, Haas, I think you call him, talk about like all you and like Brad, all you had was Live Without a Net. I mean, that's unbelievable.
That's it, bro.
I know.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go. I think I don't know if I told you. I was supposed to go to that show, but I ended up seeing them because that was filmed like 15 minutes from here. New Haven is like 15 minutes from here. So that was
wow.
Yeah. So my buddies went, and I saw him a couple of weeks before at Brendan Byrne, August 1st, 86. I'll never forget it. Anyway, yes, I can relate to that. I mean, I feel for you guys that you didn't have these tours. Even with Sammy Hagar, you guys. I feel like you guys gravitate a little bit towards the Hagar years, which is fine, and no problem with that. And you guys didn't, they didn't tour down there. And that's the other thing, like that's part of like the history of Van Halen that I wish was different. Like they didn't go to Europe a lot, and they didn't cultivate. They kind of did like in like maybe Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2, okay, especially Japan. But like Women and Children, Fair Warning, Diver Down. Diver Down. They went to South America, but I think that was it. And the other ones were just, US tours.
Yeah. Oh, what my co-host on the channel, Brad, likes to remind us about, for us here in this part of the world, bro, it was definitely about the music for us. It was about the album or the cassette, remember these things, cassettes or the CD. We didn't have that. We didn't have that that collective community that you guys had in the States, like going to a big, huge arena somewhere and having boot parties and having a few beers and all that, and like we've seen in films and videos, and meeting up with people from different parts, or and then going into the concert, and then having that this gang mentality that you guys had over there.
Oh yeah, I remember. I went to see. It was the Van Halen 3 tour, and this was like the third show of the tour where they were playing Madison Square. They played like I think Philly the night before or the night after, but they were playing Madison Square Garden. I'm sure like everybody in the New York area was at this gig, and they had the huge screens in the back, and
wow.
And I had like probably like 10th row on the floor, and my buddy's like, well, dude, man, why don't you just sneak up front? I'm like, I can do that, right? So I kind of did that. I kind of snuck up front and like made friends with like some other Van Halen fans, and you can kind of see me. There was a video shot from Madison Square Garden. You can kind of see me there in the front row. I was like, I have pictures of where I was. Eddie was right in front of me, but like you kind of like talk to like your people around you. Hey man, how you doing? Blah, what's going on, man? Well, I think Conks was at that show. I'm sure maybe Pete was there and Craig, all those New York guys, And it's sad because like there's video of like these huge screens and it was great, but then like the tour wasn't doing so great as it went on, and they got rid of the big screen because it cost too much money to like transport city to city, and they kind of like wind down the whole thing. But yeah, that's the thing. Like there's this whole community of people, and like and I feel bad that you guys didn't get a chance to kind of like tap into, because yeah, it was like that, like especially when the internet first started, like you met these people, and like through that Van Halen mailing list, you were like, hey,
Yeah.
they were like, hey, I'm going to be at Madison Square, we'll meet up, and you
Yeah.
meet some people there and stuff like that, people that you hadn't, you just see like a name on a page, but you see them in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because there's another cat in the chat here, Steve Anderson, who used to be one of the co-hosts on the channel.
Yeah.
He's seen Van Halen a few times. He's in Canada, so the good thing about Canadians is they can just cruise down. They,
Yeah.
over the years, and Steve Anderson certainly took advantage of that, because he's seen them a few times too, right through the eras.
Yeah. Like at some point, it dawned on me, right? Because like I think I've seen every tour from 5150 on, okay, and at some point it dawned on me. I'm like, I don't have to just go to one show. I can go to Boston. I can go to Atlantic City. I can go to New York. I can within like a certain 3 hour radius of like where I live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I took advantage of that, especially in the Van Halen 3 tour. I must have seen them 5 times around that point.
Can just hold that thought for a second, because I've got something I want to ask you about that, because I've never had this opportunity. So you've seen them 5 times in a row, or so did you notice a difference in the different gigs and the different concerts? Was each one different, or were they choreographed and it was a package that was presented?
You know what? I mean, I think it was. I mean, it wasn't as scripted. Like I feel like the David Lee Roth stuff was scripted. He didn't know it at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole "Hey, I'm gonna f your girlfriend, pal." You think that's your show.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you get a bootleg of like, years down the line, you get a bootleg of like Diver Down in Chattanooga, and he's going to F some other guy's girlfriend. And you're like, wait a minute. It's just, it's scripted like that. But so no, like I felt like the Hagar years were a little more like honest. It
Spontaneous?
wasn't
Spontaneous?
Yeah.
More spontaneous?
Yeah. Like the set list wouldn't change, really.
Okay.
I mean, once they kind of like figured out the set list, it wouldn't change a lot, if any, right? So you kind of know, especially now with the internet, like you knew what songs were coming up. You knew what they were going to do. But like, but yeah, you wanted to go out and like just see the band again. You could. So why not?
Wow.
Yeah. I saw them in like Atlantic City. I saw them at Hartford. I saw them in Madison Square Garden. Where else? 2 nights in Boston. So,
okay, I've got another question that I want to ask you. That's related to that seeing them in sequence. So here in New Zealand, if you go and watch sports, say a rugby match here in Hamilton or Auckland or Wellington or Christchurch, the crowds are different. Like in Christchurch, if somebody does a mistake or if the opposition are going for a conversion, they boo. but here in the North Island we don't boo. Yeah, you know. So have you noticed? You know, when you've gone and watched Van Halen in different geographical areas, are some of the audiences more nuts and crazier than other areas, or is it just like Van Halen and it's just crazy full stop?
I'm sure it was probably crazy in you know, 80, 81, 82. You hear like, you know, because everybody was a lot younger. When I saw them, everybody was like 30, 30. Like when I went to see him at Madison Square Garden, like I said, I had my seats were like 10th row, but I kind of snuck up. And like those first like 20 rows, they had like champagne service. I'm not kidding. Like people would walk and like order drinks and they would bring them drinks and champagne and stuff. It was like really upscale. So like
Wow.
nobody's fighting or anything like that, you know. You know, the crowd was just older and they just wanted to be there and have, you know, like if somebody bumped into you, oh yeah, sorry man, yeah, that's you know, you're not fighting or anything, you know what I mean?
And if
Yeah,
somebody walked past and squeezed your
yeah.
girlfriend's bum or something, like, oh, it's okay, it's all right,
But
it's
like in
fine.
the 80s, I'm sure it was insane in the 80s, you know. You can see that footage in like what's that? You know, the Kurt Jeffries footage where they're playing Ain't Talking About Love and like the camera pans to the audience and like they're just going insane. A sea of people insane. You know, where it wasn't like that when around like probably after Balance, probably after that tour, you know, people were a little bit older, you know. So I don't know.
It's a little bit like, you know, I'm going to use some rock and roll history here that you guys will all appreciate and understand. It's a little bit like the Rolling Stones, for example. You know, when the Rolling Stones toured America in '69, they were blown away with their audience because they were just actually standing there, sitting there. They were listening to the music as opposed to 3 years earlier where everyone was just screaming and just going nuts, Jimmy. You know, so they'd grown up a bit and it was more
Yeah.
about, okay, we're going to listen to the music now and
Yeah, you weren't going there
appreciate.
to start a fight or anything. You know, you were just going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Now I saw them. Like I said, I saw them in '98 at Jones Beach. So I went with my buddy,
Yeah.
and I had this great idea that I'm gonna film this show. Okay, I had like 30 rows back on like Eddie's side. I'm gonna film this show. I don't know. I don't know. Like looking back on it, it's really ridiculous. Okay, but I had this small video camera, right? And so I have to get it into my into the show, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we went through security, I went to the bathroom and I took it apart and shoved stuff like, you know, down my pants and my back. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I got it in. Okay, I don't know how I got it in, but I got it in and then I assembled it again, right? And I had it underneath my seat and this show was actually filmed. It's on YouTube. It's Jones Beach in '98. I'm glad somebody filmed it because I'll get to the point. Is that so? Van Halen comes out and they start with Unchained. Like maybe like a minute and a half in, I get busted by security. I don't know I don't know what I was thinking, right? I don't know what I was thinking, right? But I don't know. Like at that point, I was really into Van Halen bootlegs, and I was on. There's some Van Halen bootleg site that I forget what it's called. So I think it's affiliated with Van Halen links. Anyway, so I don't know. Like I felt like maybe I wanted to contribute to that somewhat. Anyway, so I get I get cold busted. Like I mean, my footage was like 90 seconds until they busted me, right? And they didn't take my camera, but they had me give them like the film, and you know that was it. You know, I was looking back on it; it was really, really stupid. You
Well,
know,
you're lucky they didn't take the camera because,
yeah, they didn't take the camera; they took the film. Yeah.
you know, in the early days in Monk's book, you know, they were
Oh, they would
taking
have,
the
yeah,
camera
yeah, yeah,
and they were beating. You would have
yeah.
got a hiding.
I would have gotten a beating. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
back then,
yeah.
I wasn't afraid that anybody was going to beat me up. They were just going. I thought they were going to toss me out. you know. So that would have been another show that I got tossed out. I'm always doing something. But yeah, looking back,
Ladies and gentlemen, do you guys get get the distinct impression that Jimmy was certainly the ringleader of all the chaos that he was around? He was certainly not easily led.
yeah, I can't follow the rules. Yeah, but yeah, so that happened. But after that, I kind of chilled out. Well, you know what it was. Now you have your phone; you can film whatever you want. You know what I mean? Back then, I wanted to film this, and not make any money off of it, but like contribute. My idea, I think, was to just contribute to the pool of videos. You know what I mean? Because I was creating videos at that time, amongst other people, and I got a lot of footage, and I got pretty much every. I had pretty much down in my basement. I've got almost every available bootleg from Van Halen, at least video,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to maybe contribute to that. But looking back on it, man, sincerely looking back on it, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, what did I think I could get away with, But so after that, I just kind of like enjoyed the show, and luckily, like I said, it's that show is on. There's a great audience shot footage of that entire show.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get into trouble tomorrow at EVH Con,
come see me.
Go and hang out with Jimmy. Go and check Jimmy out at EVH Con if you want to be in the rat bags. And the causing trouble group.
No, yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So yeah. I going back to like what we were talking about earlier is that I felt bad for you guys. You guys didn't have that, and you love Van Halen as much as we do, and like you didn't have that accessibility to seeing them.
No, and look, we've said it before too, bro, and I'm going to say it again. That's one of the great things that I do personally about this channel, reaching out with guys like yourself, Alan in the chat, Gret Zeppelin,
Alan,
Sandra, there's a hell of a lot of people here, that Paulie Walnuts, Bent Tom, just all Van Halen nuts, and again, we've got to keep saying it. Social media has given us this opportunity, this platform, technology, has given us again this ability for us to connect and hang out with, because, back in the olden days when, it was just, your school friends, or people that you were working with. But now, we can take advantage of this, and you've got EVH Cons, which is, part of preserving this whole EVH history, that you guys are doing with Greenwich music. That's an important thing. And then also, bro, we've got authors, like Chris Gill. Chris Gill is going to be at EVH Con tomorrow. So take your copies of take your copies of Eruption. You should all have copies of Eruption, and get Chris to sign copies for you.
I'm gonna have to have him sign my iPhone because I have it on my on like ebooks or whatever, Apple Books or whatever. So I don't have the hard copy, unfortunately.
Well, just to have him there.
Oh yeah,
when you consider who he is, in our circles, and the access that he had, and also it's really, really cool, bro, because we did our EVH anniversary show on Eddie's passing, and he came on, and he was on for the whole 6 hours, Jimmy. The whole 6 hours, and he shared with us a lot of information about how he's touched base with Wolfgang since he's published, him and Brad published the book, and how Matt Bruckers and Wolfgang have given him a bit more access into doing another publication. So, it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say to you guys tomorrow. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have him on and he can talk to you guys too or whatever.
Well, whatever you do, bro, I know you're going to be busy. I know you're going to be busy. So, and this goes to everybody in the chat. You know, when you're meeting people and you're passing on regards and making connections, do a shout out for me, please, to yourselves, because who knows. A Kiwi might get over to EVH Con 9 or 10.
Yeah, man. Next year,
Yeah.
make it down.
Yeah.
Hey, it's funny. I wanted to. A couple of weeks ago, they released that. They released that 1978, black and white striped replica, right? That
Yeah.
EVH was doing, the EVH gear. And I remember
Yeah.
like being a kid, and like all I wanted in life was like a striped guitar like Eddie's. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted was a striped guitar. And now you can get anything you want. They're releasing everything that you could possibly want through EVH gear and all that. So it's crazy, you know.
Well, look, I suppose at the end of the day, bro, it's it's a business, and we've mentioned this before on this show and on other subjects. For example, the Peter Green Les Paul, the 50 limited issue run that they did, $50,000 for this Les Paul Gibson Greenie, and they were all sold, Jimmy. They were sold within days.
I heard something that like that Gibson won't allow you to resell it, but like they would log. This might be hearsay, but I heard somewhere that they would log the serial number, so if they see the serial number being resold, I don't know what they would do, but like they wouldn't, like they might kick you off. Like, first of all, this is a specific amount of people that can afford this guitar, right?
Sure.
So they might like keep you from getting other, limited edition guitars, like if they know that you're buying it to resell it. I don't know. I kind of heard something like that. You know anything about that?
Yes, I did, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is in theme for the channel. It's about guitars. It goes completely against the capitalist spirit of buying something, holding it, and selling it for a profit later on. You cannot stop anybody who's paid $50,000, Jimmy. If I paid $50,000 for that Les Paul,
yeah,
I could chop that up for firewood, or I could sell it to you for 100.
Yeah, I agree. Like, how are they gonna? Do you think that's a real policy?
Well, look. I'm glad. Like I say, I'm glad you mentioned it. I heard it on a Peter Green, read it on a Peter Green forum, and I was kind of scratching my head and trying to work out how can they do that? Because are they if I'm a multi-millionaire and I collect guitars to hang on my wall, and next week you're going to come out with Ace Frehley $50,000 guitar, Jimmy, and I want to buy one of them, are you going to stop me from buying it?
Well, I saw this because I don't want to know. I don't know if I want to mention the name, but there's this great YouTuber who is really into Gibson guitars, and he buys the guitars and like takes them apart, shows you all the parts, okay, and puts them together, and like he's very well known on YouTube, okay, and I think, looking back, and I think that's where I heard it, because he was trying to get one of these, and I think he resells them, like he sells them, like that's maybe part of his business, yes, that person,
that person, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was the one that was kind of saying that, like that Gibson wouldn't let him buy it. Like they wouldn't, like he was somehow on some list. They wouldn't let him buy it. Anyway,
look, I heard that too. But bro, you can say anything you want on a YouTube show within reason, if it's not going to be political. And I could say I wanted to buy an EVH guitar off Jimmy, and I was going to offer him 20 grand, but Jimmy turned me down. I can say, yeah. Bro, I'm not saying that what he's saying isn't true, but you know, you can say anything to enhance your channel, bro, and your mystique and your brand, eh? You get
Yeah,
what I
so
mean?
I don't know if it's, but like this guy, he's really well known, and I like his show because like he has like really obscure guitars, really rare Gibsons, and he might have other stuff. I just kind of like noticed the Gibsons anyway.
Yeah,
But yeah, I thought that was interesting with the Peter Green that like they can kind of, oh, you know what the other thing is that don't you get like if you buy it, and we can stop talking about this. I know we got to talk about Van Halen, but I heard that like part of the like the agreement or whatever, like in that price is some kind of like dinner with Kirk
yeah.
Hammett,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. So you go to meet him. Yeah, yeah. So it's not just the Guitar Bros. So it's a meeting, and you get a photo with him, with the guitar as well, because a big slice of that 50K is going clearly to Kurt. And again, folks, I want to make this quite clear. It's a business. Guitars, Gibson is a guitar making business. So clearly this has worked. It worked for Fender with the 25K EVHs, Jimmy, a couple of years ago. They all sold out too, didn't they, Jimmy?
Yeah. You know what I like about Kirk, and like I kind of like got past the whole Metallica thing after, and probably after the Black Album. I loved And Justice for All, and I loved Kirk during that, right? But the thing that, and I got no problem with Kirk, but the thing that I love about him is that I just saw some video where he was playing with some band, like in a bar, right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
had the Peter Green guitar. I mean, it could have been a replica, but it looked like it was the real Peter Green. He just plays it. I like the fact that he plays it.
Okay, so just before lockdown, the February 2020, he goes to Mick Fleetwood organised a tribute to Peter Green. So there's film footage of that whole gig.
Oh.
So it shows him turning up with this $2 million plus guitar, standing in the wings, watching everybody else play, and then he goes on there and plays the Green Manalishi with his black fingernail polish, and he kills it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then he walks out with his guitar.
Yeah, I like that he plays it because that it's not sitting like in some collection on a wall. It's like being played, and it should be played. And good for him, man. Anyway.
Oh. Well, look, like I say, ownership. If you own something and you want to, yeah, but look, I agree with you too. I agree with you, bro. We've had lots of discussions because we love Fleetwood Mac and Peter Green on this channel, and that's one of the great things about Kurt is that he plays it in Metallica gigs, Jimmy. So
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like when I, going back to like what I was saying about that 78 guitar, like I remember being a kid. I mean, I probably would have murdered my parents for like a striped guitar back then. That's all I wanted. And like, you had like, you go into a music store and there was like these cheap, knockoffs, of like Cort or something. But like, that was part of the mystique about Eddie. I feel like for me, forget about the fantastic songs and the playing, was that you could not buy that guitar. You could not go into a music store and buy that guitar back when we were kids.
Correct. And how many years did it take before we could?
It took decades. Yeah, man. It took decades, And like I was talking about this with my friend Les Paul Gibson, and like how, it was just like right now you can have any guitar made for you, with all these guys that are making, custom guitars, and, like the whole industry that we've got, and the whole like fan base thing that, we've got with people making these replicas and stuff, whether they're making them themselves or getting somebody else to make it for them. You can have whatever you want. And as a kid, if you told me that would be possible, I never would have believed it. Like you can actually make this guitar. I mean, there's some, there's some replicas that I've seen, and we'll see them tomorrow. I mean, there's this famous picture that was taken, I don't know, a couple of cons ago, where, there was like 7 5150s in a row. This picture, right? And they all look fantastic, right? But like being a kid, and if you told me that you could have a 5150 that like would fool Eddie, for I don't know, maybe like under $2,000 or something. That's insane.
Can, can you do me a favor tomorrow, bro? And anybody else that's going in the chat, let me know what the 5150 replicas are like with the ones that have the asymmetrical necks, because I know Rob Johnson, for example, was getting an asymmetrical neck made for his 5150 because he didn't have one before. So have you played or seen any of the 5150 replicas yourself, Jimmy, with the asymmetrical necks as opposed to the standard C profiles?
Not yet. I don't think Rob's going to be there tomorrow. I've heard that he's not coming. I think he's got to work or something like that. I could be wrong, but that's what I
Okay.
heard. I haven't really played. For me though, dude, is like I don't know. Like I understand. Trust me, I understand the idea of having exactly what Eddie played. You know what I mean? But like for me, I was thinking about like I don't know if I could tell the difference, honestly, you know. And for me, like all my guitars, they're all like the same spec. There's like the certain spec of neck that I like. So if I was gonna have a 5150 done, right, I would probably have it look exactly like a 5150, except I would have the neck that I like. I'm not so tied into having the exact same neck that Eddie had. You know what I mean? We don't
Okay. Well, this is a question though that I want to. So, are we sure that Eddie's 5150 had an asymmetrical neck? Are we? Is that beyond dispute?
Well, I mean, there's that story where, when they created the Ernie Ball, that they
Yeah.
measured they
Yeah.
patterned the neck off of the
Mm,
5150. And I would love to believe that. And it's not that
mm,
I don't believe it, but
mm,
in the back of my head, it's like maybe that's like,
mm. I know.
marketing. You know what I
Uh
mean?
huh.
Because
Uh
I'll
huh.
tell you what, man. Back then, I wanted the neck that Eddie played. I didn't know what I liked. I mean, like I played a neck. Oh, this is a great neck. I mean, you can't dispute that Ernie balls are fantastic. I've got a purple one. But um uh but so that was being marketed to me. I wanted if I could. You're gonna make a guitar that I can buy that has the exact neck that Ed played all those years. I would have loved that back then. Not so much now. Like now, I like somewhat thicker, bigger necks for me. Um, but
Cheers, Sandra.
but that's the thing. It's like there was that. There's no reason to not believe it. They obviously had they have the technology to scan it. So what I'm getting at is because the Ernie Ball is asymmetrical, from what I understand, then you can deduce that if they copied it, then the 5150 is asymmetrical. But did they have asymmetrical necks in 1984 or
Well, this is where it's a little bit interesting, bro, and this is where I don't know. So I mean, I don't want us to go too techie, but
yeah?
we can take the show anywhere people
Oh
want to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
But Keith has said, look at his comment there. So he sanded it down. So quite conceivably, 89 or 88, he grabbed a sanding block and he sanded it down, Jimmy, as opposed to keeping it a standard C profile.
I have I have heard that, and I have heard that, like, through playing, like I don't know, like the second fret is like, and not the second fret, but like this around the neck, around the second fret is
Bro,
supposed to be worn. I don't
no,
know.
bro, you can't play a guitar that much where you're going to wear it down so it's asymmetrical. Look at Clapton's Blackie. It's still got the same C profile, bro.
Yeah, like and a similar story is one of my favorite pickups is the EVH Frankenstein. Like I would love that pickup if it was called the I don't know if it was called the Kirk Hammett. Okay, I love that pickup. I tried it because it was the Frankenstein, but I love it. You know, um, but like they kind of had like that similar kind of like kind of like mystery where they were saying that like this pickup shouldn't work. There's some coils missing or whatever, but it's like magic. They kind of sell that a little bit, and like Eddie
Yeah.
was known for like a little bit of not. I mean, he's not trying to rip you off, but like some kind of mystery, some kind of misinformation, like you can, like this pickup shouldn't work, but it does, and you're like, wow, it's magic. It shouldn't work, but it does. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, bro. One. So we were talking in the green room, and I want to relate this back to our isolation here in this part of the world of not seeing Van Halen more than once. So one of the great things that we have as Van Halen fans, bro, is we've got I should have had it handy. Just give me a second here because we got to give him some love. Give me 2 seconds.
Of course.
So for a long time now, we've had this book here to feed our appetite, with giving us some brain food for our EVH appetites. Now a lot of us have finally got hold of Steve Rosen's copy. I've just started mine. I only got my copy a week ago, bro, and I have to tell you, from glancing through it, from checking it out, I think it's just fantastic. You've had yours for how long?
Oh, sorry, that's my dog. Excuse him.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I have it. I'm working my way through it. It's fantastic, man. It's a fantastic book, and for me, like I think I've said this in the earlier show that was the book that I really wanted to read, in the sense that it was like a guy that hung out with Eddie. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't nothing against these Guitar World guys, but this is Eddie like at your house. And like I think in the I don't want to give away anything, but like in the very first like the first pages, Eddie asks Rosen if he's got anything to eat, and he's like, I got some chips, and he's like, can I have some? I mean, that's the kind of human side that I want to read, and it's a fantastic book. It's fantastic, and I love like how Rosen kind of talks about, like he pokes fun at himself, like, I can't believe I asked that question. I'm a doofus. You know what I mean? Have you gotten to some of that where he like makes fun of himself for like, I can't believe I asked that question?
I just think it's fantastic, and if you guys just give me, I don't want to give anything away, but this is just, if you haven't got it, this is just the style that Rosen writes in. So he's talking about having decided that he's going to ask Eddie to write a biography. So he says, when I arrived at a decision to finally approach him about the book, that took weeks and weeks of sleepless nights trying to somehow find the courage to move forward. I was terrified, deep down inside of me, in that sacred chamber where self-confidence lived and breathed. I knew I was capable of writing a meaningful, articulate, and beautiful book. I just had to go out on my own long enough to get that to happen, and set loose the dogs of creation howling inside of me, and allow them to run wild down the corridors of my imagination to tear the shit out of anything standing in their way. Wow. This dude can write.
Yeah, no, it's I like the stories where like he's hanging out at his little like apartment in the canyon, right, at Laurel Canyon or wherever that is, and like Eddie comes over and he plays him Van Halen 2 on a cassette in his car. It's just that's the stories that I want to hear. There's the other ones like how was this recorded? How was that? That's great too. But like I wanted to see more of like a human side to Eddie. You know what I mean? And like somebody that like hung out with them. And I mean they obviously had a falling out. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but they were very close for decades. I mean, some of the best. There's these insane on YouTube. There's these insane recordings of like Rosen talking with Michael Anthony around like I think it was around the '84 tour, where like he's talking to Michael Anthony about the band, and he's talking to Eddie about the band, and it's just really. I mean, like especially the Michael Anthony one. If people wanted, people always want like an autobiography by Michael Anthony. That's that thing is as close as you're gonna get right now to an autobiography of like what it was like to be Michael Anthony in the band around '84. So like, we're all, kind of like grateful for that type of like, footage that, is
Mhm.
being released, and in this book too. It's crazy.
Bro, you got some other news too.
I
That
do.
you were touching base with me in the green room. You heard something today, and I said, to you, please, we'll save it for when we go live about Sammy. So I haven't heard, ladies and gentlemen, what Jimmy's going to say. So do you want to share? You want to share with
Yeah.
you? Honestly, because I want to hear what's Sammy been saying.
I have a Sirius and I listen to Eddie Trunk like almost every day. I love Eddie Trunk, and he had Hagar on I think a couple days ago, so I listened to it today. And like Sammy's Sammy. Part of he likes to say that he sold 47 million albums with Van Halen, but if you do the math, that would mean that every album with Hagar went diamond. That's insane. You know what I mean? There was only 4 or 5. There was only what you got 5150, you got OU 812, you got For Unlawful, and you got Balance. Even okay, throw in right here, right now. That's not 10 million sold. You know what I mean? Anyway, so there's let's be real. There's only 2 diamond albums. Van Halen one for Van Halen. There's Van Halen one, and there's 1984. I don't know where he's getting this math, but that's not the real reason. He was other than that, he was pretty cool. Eddie, he was talking about his new album with the Circle or whatever they called the Circle, yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
which I don't know. Like I got to be honest, I'm a fan of Hagar in Van Halen. People that know me, I went through this period where I hated Hagar, not because of the music, but I thought that he was just talking too much. In the end, it kind of seems like Hagar was telling the truth. Whether you like it or not, it's I don't think he was wrong about what he said. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
So a lot of the interview was about his solo stuff, blah blah blah, about this new album, how it was recorded, da da da. And at the very end, Trunk asks him about. He goes, "Hey, before I let you go, any Van Halen news?" And like, we all kind of know this, but like, Alex Van Halen does not like Hagar. Okay, like that, and like, uh, Hagar, Sammy said something right that I think Trunk took out of context or misunderstood. He was saying how there was this, as we all know, this Joe Satriani, Jason Newsted thing, right?
Sure.
And Hagar told him that, obviously everybody knows it, both those guys confirmed it. And like Hagar was talking about, he was talking about a reunion, okay? Not a reunion, but like a tribute tour, which I think what was this Jason Newsted and Satriani thing, right? But like, he made it seem that like there was that, and then there's another thing where they were talking about like, who's the manager? Azoff was his name.
Yeah.
Anyway, that he called up Sammy and was like, "Hey, listen, would you be interested in doing a show in Las Vegas, right? With like you, Michael Anthony, Alex Van Halen, and another guitar player, right?" And Hagar said to Eddie Trunk that was presented to me, right? But Alex wasn't asked yet. So Azoff didn't go to Alex, right, to ask him. He wanted to talk to Hagar before that. Okay. So, but if he did go, if it went to Alex, Alex would have put the kibosh on it. But now Trunk is kind of running with the idea that Alex was okay with Hagar doing this, Vegas thing when he kind of misunderstood what Hagar was saying. he didn't. Hagar never said that that Alex was okay with it. He told them that Alex wasn't asked yet because they're afraid to bring it up to Alex. Alex is going to say no. There's some kind of animosity, maybe because of the book, but like so Hagar, it kind of upset me. I wanted to call in, but it was on, this happened 2 days ago. But so after Hagar left, and Trunk was talking about how this happened and this happened, and this guy called up and said, "Hey, do you think Alex has a really big problem with Hagar?" And Eddie was like, "Well, obviously, like they were gonna do this Vegas thing, and so he didn't have a problem with it then." But that's not right, because I don't know if he heard the part where Alex wasn't asked. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So he's running with that thinking that this was going to happen, and like, why does he have a problem now when he didn't have a problem later? But he was never asked. It's kind of like this whole kitchen sink tour. Yeah, that's great on paper, but nobody went to Roth. Roth would never do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of like the same thing. Yeah, he Azoff went to Michael Anthony. Hey, I'll do it. Then he went to Hagar. I'll do it. But he never went to Alex. Whereas now in like Trunk land, there's this idea that Alex is okay with doing something, but now he's got some problem with Hagar on the side. Anyway,
Alex is the man, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on. It all lies, and like it's weird because I heard that around 2004, at the end of that tour, at the end of that disaster tour, like Alex and Hagar were cool, What happened?
Wow.
Yeah,
well, yeah. Look, I heard that too, but I think Keith's put a comment in here, and I think we all know they're not going to forgive him because of what he said and read, coming out spilling the beans. And look, Paulie Walnuts has obviously been on Wikipedia, and look at that comment there, Van Halen 1. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look how many copies of that album.
Hagar's like, this is verbatim what Hagar said. He's like, so I've sold 47 million albums with Van Halen, and Roth has sold 47 million albums with Van Halen. No.
Lead singers,
anyway, bro. It's but like the thing with Jason Newsted and Satriani is that I feel like I don't know. I just kind of go by what I read or what I hear on stuff. It's like I felt like Alex at some point, it cannot be disputed, okayed this tribute idea. Okay, this tour. Okay, and they're like, whether or not maybe they were like, okay, look, if we would like Michael Anthony because there'd be more cachet to it, but I feel like they think that if they got Michael Anthony involved, that they would have to get Hagar, which isn't necessarily the case. Michael Anthony would jump on board without Hagar, but I feel like they kind of like circumvented that and like, okay, look, instead of like having that problem with Hagar, why don't we just find another bass player? Okay. Newsted. And then of course they need another guitar player, Satriani. So I feel like that Satriani Newsted thing, of course, I got to preface by saying, I don't know, anything more than anybody else, but I feel like that was the like tribute tour idea and not this residency in Las Vegas that Azoff was trying to do, because the tribute idea is, the tribute tour for Eddie, that was Alex's idea. That's Alex, and he's trying to like circumvent getting Hagar, whereas this residency in Vegas is Azoff's idea. And he never really cleared it with the most important person, just like the kitchen sink tour was never cleared by the most important person, Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, you can talk about this like stadium tour and this and that. They're going to play stadiums, but like Roth would never do it.
So I suppose the thing is, Jimmy, and everybody in the chat, and please offer some of your own comments and thoughts too. To the day Sammy dies, he's gonna be talking about EVH and Van Halen, and vice versa with Roth. you know, they're going to share some opinions, some thoughts. Yeah, you know, and they're starting to get a little bit weird, these lead singers. You know, I remember David Lee Roth coming out saying that he told Eddie to stripe his guitar, and you know,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know. So if you think, ladies and gentlemen, that you've heard some weird shit, I think Jimmy, there's probably more weird shit to come, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like with Roth, I don't like, Roth did kind of, he joined the band and he did present that band the way we know it. Like he had them dress a certain way, right? He was the one that's kind of told Michael Anthony, hey, you need to do a bass solo, just play some noise and throw the thing around and stuff like that, right? So I feel like from like 78 to 84, 85, Roth did run that show, like told people like what to do, and you can hear that in those interviews with like Steve Rosen. Like he was a taskmaster, like he had the idea of like like the Panama video. I was listening to this podcast and they had the director of the Jump video, right? And they were talking about how that footage that's in Panama where like the stage stuff, people think it's real, but it's not, where Dave's walking out with the cops and all that. That was supposed to be in the Jump video, right? And they didn't think it worked. They had two cuts. They had like the cut that we know where it's just the guys in the the room.
Yep.
And there was another cut where it was interspersed with the Panama footage, where he's walking out and like he's coming down like the what do you call it, the firehouse thing, right? And like so they didn't like it, so they saved that footage for Panama and kind of like pieced together with like some live stuff,
Yep.
But he was the one, he was the creative force in that, not of course in the music too, with the lyrics and all that, the melodies. But like him and Pete Angelus were like, they did, it was his idea, it was their idea, Hot for Teacher. I mean, what an iconic video, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So they had that, he was kind of running the show, but after he left, the brothers, obviously took over. And like, once you leave a band and you come back into that band, you tend to lose your power,
sure.
because you left,
Sure.
And, so Dave is still like that creative force. But he's really hard to, he's obviously hard to deal with, and, I'll tell you, like, listen to the guy. I listened to some podcast that he was on, and it was like a 3-hour long podcast, and it was just all over the place. It like kind of hurt your brain trying to follow it. And I can't imagine like living with the guy. I mean, I love Dave. Dave's an icon, but but like living with that, every day, that can't be easy. So,
Well, obviously he's ADH, or something like that. Not, I don't mean that just, he definitely, the guy's just full on. And, I've had friends over the years who've been full on too, bro. What I mean, full on, and just like it's, and some people say I'm full on. I'm going, really? Look at Jimmy. He's worse than me. You know what I mean? But I think the point for me, there's always going to be one thing in particular that's going to reinforce something with me. It's just the way that I think. And when I found out that Roth was the one that realized that Van Halen had to go from changing their clothes to having some kind of presence on the stage, because up until then, the Van Halens, for example, would just be wearing Levi's and sand shoes at home, and then they'd go to the gig in the same gear, Roth understood, well, people had to see the Van Halen band arrive and then get changed, because people want to see that they're going to a show, that they want, they need to see this kind of spectacle, this presentation. Jimmy, it's called show business for a reason.
Dave understands that. That's like, at least, for like the Fair Warning tour, where, it starts off and like the lights are going, and like Eddie's doing the right before they all come out. It's dark stage, lights are going, blah 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 blah, and then like the first thing you see, the lights come up, and Dave's already midair off the drum riser. And people have talked about that have seen the Fair Warning tour as like an iconic moment, because the lights come on, and the first thing you see, you see the band, but then Dave's already midair doing the split. I mean, come on. That's like you were saying, that's show business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to forget that. And people have not forgotten that,
Yep.
And like, I remember, I never saw up until, the reunion in like 2012, I'd never seen them with David Lee Roth. Right. And like, but like you got those iconic, videos from Fair Warning, hear about it later, and, Unchained, and So This Is Love. And you see this band like from what I feel is like the height of their power, like Fair Warning. That's like the height of Van Halen for me, to some degree. I also thought, like 5150, if you're going to go with like the Hagar years, or maybe, For Unlawful, but like, like if you, the first 6 albums, I mean, Fair Warning, that is iconic, that tour was sick.
Yeah. See, I've made it easy for myself, Jimmy. To me, it's 2 bands. So for me, it's Fair Warning. Yeah, the epitome of the classic Van Halen clearly has to be that Fair Warning.
Yeah.
And then obviously from a pop perspective, what they achieved with 84, breaking new territory, with the synthesizers, and we've spoken about this a few times, and where they could have gone. That man, for a while they were the hottest act in the world, bro. They had cracked the pop music charts, and we had hints of it with previous albums. And then who would have thought 5150 would have, so for me, to make it the comparisons easier for me, it's the classic and then the Van Hagar. And then I can make my comparisons easier. Might be a cop-out, but
yeah. No, definitely. I mean, it was, as a little kid, it's just so like awe-inspiring. Like this band, like first of all, like nobody played like Van Halen. Nobody looked like Van Halen, even as a band name, like they weren't like the Beatles. They weren't like the Rolling Stones, right? They weren't like, it was like Van Halen, the guy's name. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick little example. So in 7 hours' time, I'm going live with the Rock Professor and Brad, and we're going to be ranking the tracks on Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell. Now, I'm old, and I was listening to that album in 1980 when it came out, the same time we were listening to Van Halen, bro. We were listening to Ronnie James Dio, first album Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. You go and listen. There's no connection or comparison with that album whatsoever with what Van Halen were doing at the same time. Completely, just miles apart, bro.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. It was just nobody. I mean, like they changed the world. I mean, they changed music. That's. I think every Van Halen fan will agree to that. It was like nothing was like that. And
no disrespect to Tony Iommi, but his guitar solos on that album are great, and I've been listening to it all week. But they're classic rock solos, bro. Guitaring. You go and listen to what Eddie's doing on on Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2, Woman and Children First. He ain't doing classic rock shit, bro, on those guitar solos. He's doing something else, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was listening to some. It was probably on YouTube. There was some bootleg, I think, of like Fair Warning, and like you can hear like the guys talk. The guys that are recording it. You can hear them talking, and like Eddie goes into his solo.
Yeah.
And it does like the tapping stuff, and you can hear these dudes. They're like, "That's how he does it." Because unless you see, like, you didn't really have you didn't know what context that was being done in like 1980. Even 3 years later after Eruption, you still, you had to see it to really know what it was. You had to be in the audience and see him doing it. You know what I mean?
Sure,
As opposed to
sure.
now, it's like ubiquitous. Now, whatever. You know, but back then, like, these kids were surprised. They're like, "Oh, that's how it's done." You can hear them like,
Yeah,
Look what he's doing.
yeah,
Hands." You know what I mean? It's
yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah,
can
yeah.
relate
And
to that.
and we picked that up. I did, when you went and read guitar magazines. For example, when I can't remember off the top of my head, but somebody in a guitar magazine's been interviewed and they said, "Yeah, I remember watching Van Halen and seeing him do that." And that's how he does it.
Mhm, mhm. I
Randy
remember
Rhodes, I think. I think Randy Rhodes said that.
there was some kind of spread. I forget, and, like, the guys that play guitar will probably know this. There was some kind of spread in Guitar Player or something, like maybe around 82, 83. I think it was before 84 was released, where it was black and white pictures of Eddie holding the Frankenstrat, and the Frankenstrat had a white pickguard, and Eddie was wearing like a black checkered shirt, and it was pictures of like what his hands were doing at a certain thing,
Yep.
and there was like a tab of like what he was of what they were kind of talking about. It's all, there was no audio. It's just written down. But there was pictures of like Eddie with his fingers on the fretboard, kind of explaining like what was being done. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, wow, man, because it was like that was the closest at that time that you got to actually see like what was being done. Because before, other stuff, they'd have interviews with Eddie and it's just him holding a guitar or doing something, whereas this was him, sitting in a stool or whatever, showing you like what he was doing, picture by picture. Which was the
Sure.
closest that we got at that time around like 83.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and look, I've got magazines that have. Man, I couldn't work that shit out, bro.
Yeah. No,
I can
it
barely
was
follow.
it, it
I can
was
barely follow a YouTube video.
it was that's the thing with Van Halen, man. And like, they had great songs. It wasn't just this virtuosity, like there's great, Steve Vai is one of the best guitar players on the planet. um but and I love Steve Vai. I love Vai in the context of a band like David Lee Roth or maybe Whitesnake or something. Some of his stuff is too out there for me. You can't,
Yeah,
you can't just put, for me, I can't come home and like I can't be driving in my car listening to like some Vi solo stuff where you throw on,
a
whether it's
song,
Fair
an
Warning or you
album.
throw on, even the Hagar stuff.
Yep.
It's the songs and these great solos, but it's really the songs and the songwriting.
Yeah, yeah. Look. I'm a little bit like that too. You can't beat the songs. Here's an extreme example. So Dream Theater. I love listening to Dream Theater's albums. But if you go and listen to Petrucci's Liquid Tension, Liquid Tension Experience
Yes,
or
that's
something like
right.
that, where it's just extended guitar solos. It's like.
Yeah. There's great playing. I mean, there's great virtuosity, but that doesn't really translate into like great, like a great song. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I get it. Hey, bro. You've got. We were talking also. Gosh, guys. We were talking in the green room about lots of things. So we were talking about a very, very good friend of yours that you caught up with and you had dinner with, and he's going to be at EVH Con
Oh
tomorrow, and
yes.
you're going to do a special shout out to him for me. Man, we got to get this. I've been saying it for months. We got to get this guy on a show. But
I talked to him about that. He's got some problem with like, I don't know, like his microphone, or there's some kind of computer glitch, and he trust me, he absolutely wants to be on, but
okay,
he's got to straighten out like his
his gear.
situation. Like, there might be a problem with his computer or his microphone or something. I forget what it is, but yeah, it's I had dinner with Craig Stofko about 2 weeks ago, and he finished up this guitar that I had in the works for a while, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, it took so long, blah blah blah." And like, look, I the thing with that, I kind of like joke on some of his posts is that I call him the maestro, right?
Yes.
And like, you got to let the maestro just work. You cannot rush the maestro. Okay, let him. Trust me, the maestro. He knows that he needs to get your guitar done. Me too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so he got it done. I have it right here. I'll just show it off.
All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to present Jimmy, and he's going to talk about this wonderful thing he's got.
This, I don't know if people can see it. I had this idea to do a kind of like a Jack Butler inspired guitar, but like I said earlier, like I wanted it to my specs. The body's a little different. The body's a Kramer Ad Frankie body that I use. All my guitars are. I like the bigger horns. I like the bigger body, and unlike a lot of people, I like really heavy guitars, and this one is really heavy. It's probably the heaviest one. It might be because of the it might be because of all the clear coat or whatever that he sprayed on it. But so the body's a lot custom guitars, Frankie Kramer Ad Frankie body, and the neck I got from Musicraft, which is I've got all the necks that I have. I've got like maybe 8 of these built.
Can you present it? Can you present it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Can you hold it up for a good while? I'll present and just run it in front of the camera so people can check it out.
Yeah. So most I'm not much of a neck pickup guy, but for this one you have to add the neck pickup, or else it kind of like takes away from the look. So
Okay.
with the light is a little different, but yeah, it's a red sparkle.
Wow.
And like I said, I got the black kind of like headstock there. It's not an exact replica to the Jack Butler, but like I said, it's kind of like inspired by, and it's exactly like my other ones. I've got, I don't know, maybe 8 other ones that are the exact same thing. The bigger body and the neck. The necks are, sometimes I put like an ebony neck on them. Sometimes they're maple, but they're all made to the exact specs. This way, I don't like grabbing a guitar and having it be different. You know what I mean? Especially if you're going to play it live, So I kind of just gave him, I got the body. I sent it to Craig. We got all the parts. He put it together. He painted it. And I'll tell you, it plays great. I mean, if anybody has some kind of like idea for a guitar, whether it's a straight guitar, like, I mean, I think when I talked to him, he was working on like 5 5150s, right? Not kidding. And so if anybody has like an idea whether they want a striped guitar or they want a guitar to their spec, any color, like there is nobody on the planet that will spray color better than Stavko. Nobody, right? Nobody.
So what do you want to tell us now in the chat? What guitars you're going to be taking tomorrow to the EVH Con, or is that a secret?
No. I'm probably going to bring this one because people want to see it. So I'll bring that.
Yep.
And people bring their, I don't really have that many striped guitars, if any, right now. I ended up selling one. But like the ones that I have, they're Van Halen inspired because like they're the Kramer Ad Frankie bodies, right? And sometimes single pickup, sometimes they're like slanted like the Barretto, sometimes they're straight on like this one. This is the only guitar I have next to my Ernie Ball that has 2 pickups. Everything else, I'm like a 1 pickup, 1 knob guy. I just love that look, clean, love it. No tones or anything like that. This one doesn't even have a tone. It's got a pickup selector switch. It's got the pickups in it. I tell people, like, if you see my guitars and the bridge pickup is all black, then it's an EVH Frankenstein. And if it's zebra or any other color, I use Pariah Pasadena Blacks. Not that anybody cares. I just like talking about gear. The Pasadena Blacks are so great. They're just like the Frankenstein. I love the Frankensteins, the EVH pickups. Um, and yeah, he got it done. And I'm telling, he was sending me pictures and videos throughout the whole experience. And like, if anybody wants something done, do not hesitate using this guy. He is top shelf. It's amazing what he can do. It's amazing what he can do with like Spark. He does Spark. He does crazy little designs. He does his own binding. I'm having him. He's also working on this. Andrew and I were talking about this backstage. He's also working on a gold top Ernie Ball Van Halen kind of replica for me. And he texted me a couple of days ago. He's like, dude, I don't think I'm going to have it ready for con. I'm like, I don't care. Just, whenever it's done, it's done. You can't rush great, work like this. I don't want anybody, you're going to get it. He knows that, you're looking, you're waiting for your stuff, like, me included. And he'll great, communication with them. He'll send you pics during the build. I mean, right now I'm working on, I'm thinking up like another project for him, because I'm crazy like that. Like I need another,
I'm just going to show people that guitar, because I said that when Jimmy was talking about it that I was going to find it for you guys. So just give me a second.
Yeah, there's a very famous poster. Yes,
That's it.
It's like that. It's like that. Yes, the gold top. Yeah, that one is an Axis, but I think no, that looks like a real one. Anyway, but yeah, it's a gold top like this, and I have them. Usually, the gold tops have a clear headstock, but there was one in the this poster for right here, right now, where they're all standing there, and Eddie's got a gold top. And it's got a black headstock, so I'm having them go with the black headstock because it's a classic, more classic look, I think. So, but yeah, I've always loved like the look of that gold top, and like Cantrell had a gold top that he routed out the Floyd to, and but just like I think they only made like 10 of them or something like that, so there's not a lot of them going around, but
So just a couple of things, bro. So Andrew, this is a message from Fruitcake Tony. Be showing our pick and Jimmy's picks later on the Fruitcake Tony show. So thank you, Fruitcake. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks,
so what one thing we have to remind people of about Craig and his status is Craig's doing all this guitar building after hours because he's a full. He has a full. So at what stage, bro, does Craig give up his proper job and makes guitars and paints guitars full time?
I think I can't speak for Craig. I have an idea of when that's going to happen. Few years, I guess. But yeah, that's what he wants to do. And man, if I am so envious of that talent. Of like being able to paint that, and he's a humble dude. He'll be like, "Oh shucks, I'm only a hack." No, it's unbelievable work, and I wish I knew how to do something like that. It's art.
I'm going to jump in here, bro, and say, well, obviously the attention to detail that Craig has goes back to him working on cars. So if you guys are friends with Craig on social media, you'll see often that these he'll post pics of himself when he's 18, 17 years old working on V8s and racing. So clearly that attention to detail has transferred from being a hot rod builder, from being a car guy, Jimmy, into his guitar building side of things, but also the guy's a shit hot guitar player.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you. One time, at the first con, me and my buddies showed up, and like I said, there was amps set up, around, nothing crazy, just like combos. It wasn't super loud. It was good. And me and my buddies, we all play guitar, and here's this guy. He's like, doing like the Mean Street intro, and he's playing stuff, and my buddies and I, and I've told him this story many times, and my buddies and I are like, "Who's this cat? pretty good. You know, and there's great players out there. Him and Pete Carucci. I mean, Carucci
Oh.
can throw it down, man. He's a great player. He's a great player. There's a lot of great players out there, man. And that really take the. But yeah, I mean, Stavko, Craig will be like, "Oh shucks, I'm just a hack. Get out of here."
You know what? And look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this too. I've heard it on good advice too, that Jimmy is a shit hot guitar player, and also a guy that would normally be here with us, but he can't be today. So we want to do a special shout out to John Conklin. If you're watching this, bro, we didn't get a chance at the.
He just texted me that he's watching. Just now.
Okay. All right. So we want to do a shout out to our brother John Conklin. We'll catch up with you, bro.
Love you, man.
But John Conklin is a shit hot guitar player too. And do you know why I know this, ladies and gentlemen? Because Alan Garber told me. So yeah, we these guys aren't going to blow their own trumpets, but I can for them.
No, all those guys mentioned. I remember I say this every time I think about Conks playing. Is like, my band used to do dirty movies, and like, that very beginning where it's like noise or whatever. I used to do something like with a pick or whatever, and then I saw Conks. I think it was at EVH Con, at one of the cons. I think I saw Conks doing this. He's sending me something. Okay, okay, and he did like the intro to Dirty Movies, and I'm like, oh. And every time, every time I play it, I think of Conks, and you got to give him credit, because I didn't figure that out. The dude's a terrific player. Yeah, another guy who was like, oh, I don't know if I could do it, but there's these great players and great people, and that's the thing. That's the thing with like this community.
Yeah, we've all been there, ladies and gentlemen. I've worked with guys over the years, and do you play a bit of guitar? Yeah, I'm not very good though. Oh, okay, and you give them a guitar. Yeah.
No, Conks says that I can kind of tell like what's going on, why he's not on today. Conks, he had a little bit of a emergency, nothing serious. He is in the hospital, but he's just kind of waiting around for the surgery that he's got to have on Monday. He's okay. He's a little restless. I don't blame him and stuff, and I make it a point to like make sure I check in on him like every morning and afternoon and make sure he's all right, because he's I'm sure look, he's I'm sure his family's there and stuff like that. I just don't want him feeling alone and stuff. So he's going through some health stuff, but all things said, I think he's going to be okay. He's got to wait until Monday, and that's why he's not going to be at con tomorrow. Just turned out that way. But we love the Conks. I mean, you can't have con. There's a con and Conks, so you can't have the one without the other. But we're going to think of him, and we're going to miss him, and I'll check in with him later on, make sure that he's all right, because I think he's just hanging out in his he sent me a snapshot where it's like he's in his bed, and he's got like the computer on, and he's watching the show. So thanks, Conks. Miss you, dude.
Thank you, John, and we dedicate the show to you, brother. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to ask people to pray for you and send you good wishes, because that's what our community is about, and obviously you've given Jimmy the okay to do that. So if everybody can keep John and his family in your thoughts and in your prayers, that would be great. And here he is as well. We've just been talking about this dude.
Oh yeah, here he is. Yeah. I want to have him on so he can explain. Like I said, he's having some kind of. He wants to be on. We talked about that. I would love. It's not my show, but I'd love to have him come on and kind of like promote what he does, because
bro, it's our show, and any time you want to get Craig on, to talk about what he's doing and
Yes.
his business,
We-
bro,
we-
you
we
have
will-
a permanent invitation.
We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow, but he's got some kind of technical. He absolutely wants to come on. I mean, he's another guy that once you get him to start talking about Van Halen, you can't shut him up, which is a great trait, right? But I think he's got something with his microphone, or there's some kind of technical issue that he's got to work out.
When we get Craig on, bro, we'll put 3 hours aside for that show.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely, man. Like, I want him to come on and like show what he does. He's got this great, he does great 5150s. He does great special spec Wolfgangs with like special paint. I mean, like I told you, he's building me a gold top. Since he's on, let me just show this again. So I told him I showed it before, but here it is. Love this thing. I played it at my last gig last Saturday, and like people absolutely loved it, and so I couldn't be happier. And I also love that the one thing besides the paint and the whole looks thing, I love that it's heavy.
What I'll do, Craig, while you're here, if that's okay with you, when this show ends, I'll attach your social media links, Craig, to this video. And if people want to get in touch when they go back and watch the show, when it's back on the channel, they may want to get in touch with you. So if that's okay, bro, I'll do that, and we'll do the best we can. That's what we do on this channel. We'll do the best we can to help promote your business and what you do.
Yeah, I've got
happily.
Like, I gave him another drill to you want a stripe drill? He'll do it. You know what I mean? He does this fantastic. I think he calls it chalk, like this fantastic chalk, like matte, finish on like any color you want. It's like he made it chalk black. Bumblebee, where it's like it's just different enough. It's not like a gloss black or like a brighter black. It's like a matte black Bumblebee. That's what I told him to kind of do with my drill, like a matte black with like the yellow. The guy. I mean, I wish I had that talent. He's like, oh shucks, blah 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 blah. He's gonna slap me tomorrow. But the guy is. I mean, I am so envious that he knows how to do this stuff. Not only, like, I asked him, I go, dude, how did you learn how to do all this stuff and be a hotshot guitar player? One of those two is hard enough. Like, takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, mate, get him on. Get him on the channel, and he can get him on.
It's just insane. The guy, not only that, but he's a fantastic, he does all these guitars that people lust after, right? And he fixes cars. It's amazing. How do you know? And like, how do you know all this stuff? That was like my old man. My old man, like, he would fix any. I'm like, how do you know how to fix this?
All right, we're gonna do one other thing, Craig. While you're here, we're gonna do two things, Craig. While you're here, so. Jimmy is going to have something set up at EVH Con tomorrow. We're going to be streaming live the whole con. So if you get a chance, Craig, jump on wherever that point's going to be, either on the iPad that Jimmy sets up, or he's going to take you outside and interview you live with us. If you can do that, that'll be great. But I also want to say one thing too about your boy, because I follow you on social media. So Craig's son is designing guitars as well. So Craig's got him on his social, and guess what? He's a bloody good guitar player too, Jimmy.
Yeah. I call him Maestro Junior because like he's a junior, but the Maestro title is well deserved, man. Like there's nobody better when it comes to these paint jobs and like assembling this. Like he gave me my guitar. He's like, oh, you might want to fine tune it or something. I'm like, I played it. I was like, whoa, man, I didn't change a thing. I played it at a gig, man. It was fantastic. So, I mean, that's what like I don't want to keep repeating myself, but if you want if you have any idea in your head, like like this Jack Butler, I just I was like, okay, I want a Jack. I don't want to buy the Jack Butler because I might not like the neck, you know.
Sure.
So I'm like, why don't I just
Make
have somebody
make one.
build me something similar? It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
exact, you know. And so if you got an idea like that, whatever it is, man, every once in a while I bother him. Hey, what do you? Hey, can you do something like this? Yeah, let's do it. Whatever you can dream up, man, the guy can do. It's crazy,
So
and it's such
wow,
talent.
so that's a good idea. I never thought of it that way. So you've got an idea of a guitar that you like. That's great, Jimmy. But you may not like the neck. It might
Yeah,
be a D-shaped
yeah.
neck or
They
something like
released
that.
they released those Jack Butler, Jackson Charvel. They released those a couple years ago, and made him a production model that I don't think you can get him right now, but like you could have gotten them for like I don't know 1800 or something back then. And me and my buddy Les Paul Gibson, we were like, oh man, we got to get the iconic Crossroads scene where Vi looks so evil, right? And you're like, oh my god, this is insane, right? So when we saw them releasing these things, I was like, oh dude, I gotta get one of these. But then I started thinking like, maybe because when I was a kid, all I wanted was a thin neck, right? I've got a great pointy Charvel downstairs, and have always loved Charvels. Will always love black gold logo Charvels, like real Charvels. And mine's a reissue, but it's a real one. And but like I was playing it a couple of days ago. It's a great playing guitar. Like the probably like the 17, 18-year-old me would have like killed his grandmother for it. Right? I like saying that.
Hey, can I
Yeah.
do a spoiler? Can I
Yeah.
do a spoiler?
Sure.
The Fender Telecaster wins in the end.
Yeah. I like a bigger with now because I used to think that a thinner neck was easier to play. It's not necessarily the case. Like I like, so that's what I mean. Like I was like, I might not like the neck because like I like the neck on on the Charvel, but it's not what I'm used to. When I grab it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is lower, slimmer profile, blah blah blah. So that's where I came up with the idea. Like, why don't I just get something done to my spec? And like, my friends were like, oh my god, I want one of those. I'm like, yeah, you can have one. Anybody can have one. Just order it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a limited thing. Just order. If see, I through ordering these guitars, I came down to like what neck I like. And I have to thank Nick Amandolera for helping me. He gave me the specs that he orders because this all came off of the very first Kramer Ad Frankie replica that I had done. And I love the neck, so he sent me the specs of the neck, and now I have them. So now all my necks are the same, whether they're maple necks or ebony or whatever. I'm not crazy about rosewood unless it's a uniform black rosewood, which is hard to find these days. But so I ended up ordering it, with that neck that I like, and like anybody can do it. If you want something like that, you want something different, you want a blue sparkle, you want a gold sparkle, you want any sparkle, he'll do it. Don't hesitate.
Awesome.
Because awesome. Andrew, I think you'll like this. What I like to say is, life is too short to play a shitty guitar. You gotta have a guitar.
And look, let's be serious. Let's cut through all the bullshit. We're at a stage now in our life journey where money isn't an issue like it was when we were 14, 15, 16 or 17. So that dream guitar that you've always wanted, those dream guitars,
Yeah. Well, some
go and get them, or go and get them built, Jimmy.
I saw some post yesterday because I follow Charvel and these Charvel groups on Facebook, and I saw this custom shop Charvel, and it wasn't anything special. It was a one hum Floyd Charvel.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Charvel custom shop. Okay. but it
Yep.
was $7,000. That's insane. I mean, these things can all like, like this thing all in,
7K
yeah, it was 7K.
US.
Yeah, it's crazy. So all in, like this thing was like, around 2K, around, plus or minus $100 or whatever, 21, around there. And like to get like a guitar made to your spec, I mean, that's not bad. If you have to maybe know what you want, you know. No, they can help you along those lines. Like if you say you like a Ernie Ball neck, they can, there's not, you can get an Ernie Ball set neck, but like, that's what we were talking about like a couple of shows ago. Now is a great time to be alive if you want a custom guitar. You can get whatever you want. There's all these guys out there that will do it. Craig, Neil Daly, Nick Amandolera, all these guys. So I mean, I'm probably leaving some people out. But like I said, tomorrow we're going to show up and there's going to be 15 5150s. There's going to be probably like 5 Frankenstrats. People bring their guitars. People. I see people build this stuff by themselves. I honestly don't have that talent. I wish I did. I don't know. Like you gotta, prepare the paint. You gotta, I don't know, put like some kind of thing. I don't know. You got to keep when you pull the tape, you got to keep the colors from bleeding in. I don't know that, I wish I did, but there's great guys out there that know that have done it, that have done the trial and error. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. They know what to do. They know what not to do because they've done it. Right. And I give them all the respect, man, because I wish I knew how to do that. It would be, I'd be doing guitars myself, like if I could paint like Craig and assemble them and all that. It's a real talent. Anyway.
Look, it is. It's a real talent.
I forgot to say that for all this, Craig owes me like $250, payable tomorrow, Craig.
But seriously, Craig, we'll put your social media.
My dog is a poodle, right? He's like the cutest dog, but has the loudest bark. It's scary. Like he scares people. Like I'll be getting it. I think my sister's here. That's why he's barking. He has the loudest bark. Like he looks, he's part poodle, part Akita. Really cute dog, right? He's relatively big, but man, he has a deafening bark. Like I remember the first time I heard it when he was a puppy, I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, that's him barking because like, my sister's home. Yeah, oh my God, it was so loud. Anyway.
We're going to wrap up soon, bro, because we've been here for 2 hours. We've been hanging out, having some great fun. Look, guys, this hanging out with Jimmy has been a great thing for me personally and for the channel. So we're going to get Jimmy. Jimmy's going to be back on the channel. We just need to work out whether it's going to be in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time. It might even be in a week's time. I don't know. Certainly 2 weeks' time. He's going to be back, and we're going to touch base, and we're going to talk about everything that Jimmy saw and did at EVH Con. We're going to look forward to that. We're going to be screening live. That's our intention, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tomorrow live. Jimmy's going to be setting that up.
I think we have the technology. I think we have an idea how to do this. Okay. I think it's possible. Yes.
Awesome. And we look forward to that. And also Craig, again, I'm going to keep saying this, bro. We'll do everything that we can on this channel to help you grow what you're doing in your business. And Jimmy, that goes for anybody else, any other friends that we have that wants to get involved in anything, yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of social media, because the only thing that it's going to cost you in the end is just your time, hanging out, being interviewed, or doing a show, or me, for example, attaching a social media link onto a video. Piece of cake, bro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you run a great show. I'm working through like the old shows that you've got with Brad and like ranking the track. I would love to get on the ranking the tracks thing. Van Halen. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, you need to pick an album. I tell you what, you pick an album that you want to rank, and we'll organise the time, and you come on. And
but you can do you have no problem like doing it on an album that you already did, or is
why not? We've done that before, because one thing though that we always say is that, you know, you might listen to an album now, and we're ranking the album now as we're hearing it. You know, and in the context of, for example, getting a lot of information now. So let me just give you an example. When we first ranked Van Halen 3, I didn't know anything about what Van Halen 3 meant to Eddie until after we did that. So my appreciation and understanding of Van Halen 3 has changed considerably, Jimmy, as an example.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you pick an album, we'll get a crew together, and we'll sit here and we'll go through it. Can you also do me a favour too, bro? Can you let Joe know that I will also attach on the channel here his links to his business, to Greenwich Village? Yeah. And we'll do a couple of videos on the channel as well that we'll play for him for helping our channel by saying and including that, you know, we are the official EVH Con channel. That means a lot to us.
Oh, that's great, man. Great. Absolutely, man. I'll let him know. I'll text him.
So do you guys want to see Jimmy here in a couple of weeks' time doing the EVH Con roundup? Wrap up? What do you reckon?
I'm surprised anybody cares, and so I'm grateful for that, man. I'm grateful for that.
Hopefully Conks will be back.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Hey?
Oh yeah. He should be up and about. He should be up and about by then. Yeah. Yeah.
And Conks, did we do okay without your brother? Did we do it all right?
Is he still watching? I think he's probably still watching. Or he'll text me. He'll text me if he's still watching. But yeah, you know, thoughts go out to the Conks, and you know, I just don't want him getting down. You know, like you know, you're in the hospital over the weekend with nothing really going on. Like you know, they're kind of like running some blood tests on you, and like you're just sitting there, thinking, and you can get in your head and like get a little bit scared, and I don't know, I feel bad for the dude, so I don't want him, getting too in his head. You know what I mean?
Okay, what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do a quick shout out to everybody. Then I'm going to ask Jimmy to give the final words. So if I do miss you guys in the shout out, forgive me, because I don't do this often, so I'm just going to go through scrolling. So just bear with me, but I'd love to do a shout out. So Tim Thomas, thank you, brother. Fruitcake Tony, good to see you. Gretch Zeppelin, thank you for hanging out with us. We had Keith Campbell in here. Paulie Walnuts, who's going to be causing mayhem and trouble tomorrow at EVH Con. Jimmy Carr, thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. Johnny Heartbreak, a good friend of the channel. Teresa from Brazil. Thank you, Teresa, for all the hard work you've done with our channel by sharing it with all your Brazilian friends. We've picked up a lot of subs over the last months from Brazil. You guys are awesome. Christopher Live Sauer has been here. Another good friend of the channel. Good to see you, bro. Kurt5150. I'm making my way through. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We had Frank and Beans. Pete, good to see you, bro. He's going to be at the con tomorrow, so definitely going to be some trouble brewing. Jimmy Ray Hawkins, good friend of the channel. Thank you for supporting our channel, brother. I am carrying on. Keith Van Halen Campbell is here as well. How can we not mention Keith Van Halen? Bent Tom, good friend and a supporter of the channel. Thank you, brother. I'm making my way. Sandra Porconi, good friend of the Fruitcake Tony show. Good to see you, Sandra. Charles Green, thank you, brother.
Yeah, Charles.
Kubrick Lover 1972, thanks for hanging out with us, bro. Linny Lou, Alan Garber was in here. My gosh, oh my gosh, good to see Alan here.
Alan's gonna make a con at some point.
Awesome, bro, awesome. Yeah, he's got to. Bear with me. Linny Lou was here. I'm down at the bottom. Bro. I'm down at the bottom. Craig was here. We're going to get him on. We're going to see him tomorrow. I think that's it. I think
Yeah.
we got everybody. We had Johnny Heartbreaker. If I have missed you, please forget Nelson Rodriguez. How can I forget Nelson? My gosh, we had a few people hanging out with us today.
Awesome. I can't believe it.
When you and John jump, we get 1,000 views, bro. Over 1,000 views when you two jump on the channel.
I can't believe that, man. I mean, I'm grateful that people even care about my stupid stuff. I don't. I mean, you know what it is? Like, we talk about Van Halen, and people, can relate. It's like, people have similar stories about like when they were kids and how they felt about this band. And we've got this con tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to meeting guys, in person, like Keith and Paulie and stuff, and anybody else that like, is gonna fly across the country. I mean, I got to be honest. Like, if this was if this was reversed, if this was like in San Diego or L.A., I don't know if I'd make that trip. So I got to hand it to people that care and want to do that. I mean, that's amazing, and we're gonna have a good time. Everybody, obviously, it goes without saying, everybody gets along, and it's a great time. Like, we really just show up. We have some pizza, we have some Cokes, or some soda or whatever. We hang out, we talk outside, we talk inside, and next thing you know, it's like 6-ish, and then things kind of like wind up, and other cons in the books. You know what I mean? But like this one seems like it's going to be the largest one. I mean, yeah. So it's.
Well, I wish it well, bro. I wish all success. I will certainly catch up with you tomorrow. We hope the weather is fine for you guys, but all credit to the hard work that you guys have done to put in, into the preserving and growing the Van Halen community.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, everybody's got a part in this. You guys have a huge part. I mean, like, we're meeting all these people, like Keith Campbell, like all these other people that I probably didn't know. I don't know, 2 years ago, didn't know the name 2 years ago.
Yep.
And so you guys are doing, so like you've got this show, like I said, this show, Johnny Bean, we got Fruitcake, and like all these shows, you kind of like see that there's all these other people out there that feel the same way about this band, and it's it's a pleasure to like meet other people that this band has touched, man. It's it sounds a little corny, but it's true. It's a it's like this band is like this band has like a kind of like tell the story sometimes at my gigs, where it's like I've met all my friends like that I've had for decades, probably because of guitar playing, and directly or indirectly because of Van Halen.
Yeah.
And you meet all these great people, and it's a great bunch of guys, and we're gonna have some fun tomorrow. So it's gonna be cool. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome.
It's
God bless everybody. Be safe. Keep out of trouble.
Yes, me too.
Jimmy, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. John Conklin, our brother.
Yes, Conks, man, we're gonna be on, man. We'll be on. Yes.
We're out of here.
Yeah, all right, guys. Thank you. See you guys. Whoever I'm going to see tomorrow, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.